Okay, so let's check on Instagram. Giving Instagram a chance to respond. It takes like a few moments. Come on, Instagram. Oh, there we go. Go live. It's thinking. All right, it's good. So I'm going on Instagram. So let's get started with the podcast. So giving Instagram a chance to respond. Okay.
It's the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Try to make your dreams come true, because if you don't, you certainly won't. And if you do, you just might. Keep your dreams exciting. Keep them interesting. Try to make them different. Try to make sure that your dreams aren't the same as everybody else's dreams. If you're dreaming what somebody else already dreamed, why bother? Dream something special for yourself. And don't give up.
Thank you for that, Jonathan.
Thunder, 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 Thundercats! Oh!
That was dope!
Marshmallow Stay Puft stepping on a church. Ooh. Wishing I got a little piece of the merch. Ooh.
Thank you again for this opportunity. It's good to see the backbone, the backstory, because of you guys and your creations and everything you do. It behind stage is what brings everything to life, and I really appreciate it. And welcome. Jeez, that was. I'm trying to give back this whole. Now that we're using Restream back, so welcome to the Chronoz Show. My name is Chronoz, and I'm here with my co-host Ryan DRAYSON.
Hey everyone, how's it going?
LAETITIA.
Hello, hi.
Chuck would be with us, but he wasn't able to make it with us. But I do have our new co-host. We have Ian PETRELLA from A Christmas Story, who has played Randy on the top right. Thank you for joining us, and we're here to interview. As you guys can tell, this will be his second appearance. We're going to review and go into some new questions as well with Billy Bryan, Mr. Stave Puft, master creator, fabricator, and effects artist. How you doing, sir?
Doing great. How about you?
Doing awesome. It's a pleasure to have you, and going into some great questions we have for you. And I do want to start off with Ian. He had a great one he spoke to us about, and go into what he had wanted to tell you or to ask you first. Go ahead, Ian.
Okay. Well, I guess it could have been a follow-up, like, instead of like how you got started, which I'm sure we'll get into that. But one of the things I wanted to know is, I guess I'll make this like a two-part question. First is a yes or no, and then did you always want to do effects, or was it something you just kind of fell into? That's my first.
When I was a kid, I dreamed of being a giant marshmallow. No, okay. Actually, I started working with puppets when I was in high school because of a show I saw with Jim Henson. I probably told you this before, but Muppets on Puppets, and they showed how to make a variety of different puppets, and I made a Muppet. Okay.
It was with I can't remember, not Kermit, because one of his fabricators was named Kermit. I can't remember.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it was Jim Henson and Frank Oz who did this
Okay, I saw that one too. I was thinking,
NPR show, a WGBH in Boston.
yeah.
They had a show called Muppets on Puppets. Anyway, and from that I learned how to work with foam, at least the rudimentary aspects, and then just kind of stuck with it and kept going because it kept being fun.
Well, I guess that was going to be my follow-up question to that.
Yeah,
What
okay.
did you watch that made you say, I want to do? Because, for instance, it's like, for someone like me, it was like Ghostbusters was I want to do this, or
Okay, right.
I want to do this, and that's how, I got
Sure.
into, doing puppetry and everything as well. So.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize you did puppets as well. Cool.
Yeah, I just don't have as many credits as you. That's the only thing. So.
Oh, well.
You got me.
As you can tell, I've had a little more time at it.
True, but I should have been caught up by now,
Yeah, you'd think.
That's probably another question that I have for you later on. So yeah, that was my question. I just wanted to know, is like, you wanted to get into it, and Muppets on Puppets was kind
okay.
of
Why? I suppose why were Muppets interesting to me is part of the question there. We saw them on Ed Sullivan, and we saw some of the commercials for La Touraine coffee and things like that. And then then Sesame Street showed up when I was 13. I wasn't in the demographic, but it had Muppets, so
Right.
it was, and I had little sisters who it was pretty well aimed at, and so they liked to watch it, and I pretended I was watching it because they were watching it. But really, I just enjoyed. I don't know. It was cool stuff.
yeah.
So when I saw how to, and we happened to have the materials, I put one together, and and I kept doing it afterwards. Mom's best friend said, "Oh, you make puppets. Can you put on a show for me next week?" And so I did instead of studying. So, and I think I might have said before that when my dad took a look at my report card, he said, "Oh, great. So you're going to be a puppeteer for the rest of your life?" And that hadn't occurred to me until he suggested it, although I don't think he was suggesting it at the time.
Well, I have a similar story to that. I also got in trouble. I failed 2 classes in middle school. This is around '89, after the second Ghostbusters came out. And I failed because I was too busy building a proton pack in my bedroom.
Well, you know what? There's priorities in life.
Yeah. So, but here's the thing. Maybe you can understand this as well. Is like nowadays there's all these like cosplay Ghostbusters. They have chapters now. They're all over. They're like the Hell's Angels. There's like the Ghostbusters of St. Louis. You know, the Ghostbusters of New York,
exactly,
Cleveland. But there was no merchandise that was out, and we certainly didn't have internet. So what I had to do is, if I wanted pictures of a proton pack, I would have to rent the movie, play it, pause, take a picture of the television screen, and if you had the flash on, then you were
all of a sudden it's gone.
And this was before digital, so these were film that you had to get developed.
Had to send away. Sure, good old photo mat.
Exactly. You know, I don't think there was 1 hour photo was even back in.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's right. Not yet.
No.
Probably. I think. You know, it's funny. My late ex-father-in-law was a Kodak employee and one of the big mucky mucks toward the end, in charge first of Kodak in Brazil, and then after that Kodak in Europe. And so I kind of heard how it was dwindling. You know, Brazil was mostly making X-ray film, and in Europe, I'm not sure what they were focused on. Focus, get it. Anyway, so, but actually out of that, I just got some great trips. I got to go to Brazil. I got to go to Europe, things like that. Just
nice.
Due to my association with Kodak. You're not wearing a proton pack, are you, Isabella? No, there's something. It looks like there's one over your shoulder. It's just your chair.
Hi, sorry.
Chair stuff behind it. Okay, I get it. I get it. Because I thought, dang, did you dress up just for this?
I think Andres is the only one who.
Yeah. I got my little what do you call this?
The Frozen
Empire jacket.
Oh, right. Did it ever show up? Were there really red jackets in the movie?
I think for like maybe a minute or 2 minutes. Okay. Very short.
Just enough to establish the required purchase.
Yeah, I was like, right. I do regret that.
Just enough to make you want to buy when they're available on the market. Man.
Yeah, it was just $150. That's all it was.
Oh well, I got mine as a present. The Southend-on-Sea Ghostbusters. Good friend Chris Carter in England. He sent me my jacket and the T-shirt I wore in the last podcast.
Yeah.
I think it was only at the end when things got really cold and, towards the end of the movie, things are getting frozen when they grab their jackets out for just a brief moment. And yeah, that was pretty much it. Towards the end of the movie, pretty much. A few of them wore it, not all of them did.
Speaking of, props and stuff, was there anything from the first movie, Ghostbusters, that you got to hold on to?
I did keep a squished taxi cab. I stepped on it. And there was supposed to be a shot. It turned out that it didn't fit into the cut. And so they ended up using the similar shot with the Statue of Liberty stepping on a car. And it's funny, I had thought that mine was in there, but looking through, it was, oh, that's right, it's not. Although you can see it in that, there's that first blast when they, the one where I'm missing my tie, that I accidentally forgot to wear my tie. Here, you can see what tie, right? Not that tie. That's what I didn't have on in that shot. But over my shoulder, you can see that car on the ground behind me. If you go, I mean, you flip through some of the pictures, and there was one that where you could see that.
Let's see.
Anyway,
Oh, in the video. Okay.
yeah, in that video. Was there voiceover? Were you talking over that video when you were showing it? Because when we were watching it, it was silent to us, and I was just wondering if you were talking over it all or just showing the video.
Oh no, I was just showing the video. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
I see.
I didn't voice over.
I see.
Did you guys hear on your end the volume from it, or
Yeah.
Anything. It was just
Ian-
silent.
It was
Ian
silent to me.
or Ryan? You heard it?
I heard it. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
yeah. It's probably just I'm wondering how. Leticia, did you hear that the intro, the volume?
Yeah, I heard.
Okay, so
Okay, good. Then it probably went out.
see, let me see, Leticia, do you have a question for Billy Bryan?
I'm thinking because I don't write questions in advance. I just think about them.
And I know you loved a particular movie.
Oh yeah, Army of Darkness.
Yeah.
Well, since you created designed, I'm sure you created the character, and then on top of that, you played the character of Pitch. Sorry.
I think you can say it.
Whoa, it's a tongue twister. Anyways, tell me, how did you come up with the character? How long did it take to design it? Did you have a whole team of people
All right.
helping out?
There was a whole team, and I didn't come up with the physical aspect of the character. I was working at K&B. This was part of the story that I'd told before. I was working on Hook, and then I got offered to work much closer to home when had our fourth baby was on his way, and I was having to drive far to go carve various bits and pieces for Hook, and K&B was within walking distance of my house, and so I when they offered, I said, okay, that it's an easy decision there, because I can be home in time to help birth a baby quickly. And so let's see, actually, I'm thinking about which house I was living in at the time. But so Brent Armstrong was a sculptor for K&B, and he sculpted, they wanted him to do Pit Witch. So he sculpted two different versions. There was the more like an old lady witch, and then there was that weird boogity one that became the Pit Bitch. And Sam wasn't sure if he wanted the boogity one in the movie at that point, because he had his movie spaced out, scare, laugh, when different things happened, and he wanted a scare there and not a laugh. And he wasn't sure if that face being so over the top, would it be a scare or would it be a laugh? And so they asked me to put on the suit. I had built the rest of the suit. The hands and face were sculpted by Brent and cast up by their team. But Sam came for a meeting. Sam Raimi came for a meeting at K&B, and I was there making background skeletons at that point. And so they asked me to put on the suit. I waited until Sam came in. I froze till he got up close enough, and then I gotched him. And he, oh, all right, it's in the movie, and I want him in it. So it was an audition, even though I didn't realize it at the time. And then, so essentially, that was the character. Boom. There wasn't a whole lot of method other than that to go into developing that character. In fact, when they had stapled me into the niche in the wall and covered me with burlap and moss and things, and then they took their time to light it up, and I'm standing in knee-deep water in this suit just waiting for the moment and waiting for some kind of direction. And they're out there, and they're all set up, and Bill Pope's got the lights set up right, and Sam's out there with his bullhorn, and Bruce Campbell's standing there waiting. All Sam said was, "Come out, Monster Bill." So I figured, okay, now what do I do? All right, let's do Boogity. And so that's what I did, and apparently it was sufficient for the moment.
That's awesome.
Real quick,
I still
guys,
get tiny residuals for that.
we got our guy DJ Game Studios who was going to show up with us to help interview. His car broke down.
Oh no!
See, his truck broke down, so he's going to be having a beer at the local bar and watching the program.
Oh, okay.
So
on his phone, on his laptop.
Yeah. So it's good.
Okay.
Let's see, Ryan, did you have a quick question, or you have questions for?
Yeah. So obviously you're a very creative person, given like the things, at least thus far, that we've seen that you've worked on in the intro video and that. So as a creative person, my question for you is, have you always, or have you developed an ability to kind of like see the world differently and see like standard kind of household items or things around you and look at them and say like, oh, I could make this out of those? Or do you still see things kind of the same as your average person, and just in the moment you're needing to make something and you just kind of put them together?
It's a multi-part question. I'm going to answer a little bit of it first, in that I'm left-handed.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know, are any of you left-handed? Any of you? No? Okay.
No.
When you write with your left hand, you tend to block what you're writing. So you can't see what you're writing. I've realized this only in the last, 20 or 30 years, but every time I write, I'm practicing my imagination. Because I can't see what I'm writing.
Yeah.
Right.
My handwriting isn't that pretty either, but that's beside the point. Okay. In addition to which, the making stuff out of household items, I've always tended to make things out of what was around. Even when I first worked with foam, it was because we happened to have some that my grandmother had made some cushions, and there was one extra disc of foam, which was exactly how much I needed to make that first puppet. But even recently, I don't know if you've seen that I rebuilt the Stay Puft suit back in, about a year ago. It was, a friend was doing a Christmas show, and he asked me if I'd like to get in it and sing a song. And so I did. But to make the eyes, I wasn't sure what to use. And then it came to me, down at the party store, they had salad tongs. I call it a spizort because it's a spoon, scissor, and fork combination. And those clear salad tongs, I bought a couple of them, cut off the spoon part, and they made the lenses for the eyes for my Stay Puft suit. I was recently also working, there was a vampire kind of thing, and I was asked to make the nails, and they suggested that I use vacuum form or acrylic. And I don't have a vacuum form machine, and I hate the smell of acrylic nail formula. And so I kind of set it aside in my head as it will come to me. And then one day, as I'm leaving my studio, I glance over, and there, the leftovers from those spizorks are sitting on my bandsaw, and there are the forks. And I had to go buy another one or two salad tongs, but I was able to make the nails for the vampire out of those clear salad tong prongs. And, I always believe that whatever it is I need is going to be right there pretty soon. All I have to do is be aware and ready for it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Follow-up question for that. Now, would you say that is that something that what usually pops up first? Like, say for instance, like the nails. Okay, you use the tongs of the salad fork.
Right.
Now, would there always be something like you first think, okay, I gotta make a mold of the hand and then actually sculpt the nails onto the person, or would you think, let's see what we can find first before we go into doing that?
Well, because I knew, I mean, I think I said I sort of set it aside. It was sitting there in my cache, I suppose, right. Just waiting for the right thing to show up. I mean, at some point, I knew I was going to have to do something, and so inspiration. I don't know if I've mentioned how I like to look for inspiration in certain moments.
Yeah,
and that inspiration can sometimes help me find which thing to look at, because when you're inspired like that, if you know what I'm talking about, it kind of makes everything equal. It lays everything possible in front of you.
Yeah,
and at least everything that's going on in here, and whatever's scattered around you, and so it all becomes part of the possibilities, and then it's just up to me or you or whoever to assign, to make that choice and turn whatever it is into whatever it needs to be. Did that make sense?
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, the plastic bag thing was an example I may have mentioned in the previous, probably in the previous interview, because I was told, go up in your loft and come up with something, which is a pretty broad suggestion.
right.
And so, as I said, I sought inspiration, and I was up in the loft, and rather than sharing that inspiration with the rest of the room, I would inflate a plastic bag and tie it off. And this particular time, as I tied it off, it stretched. And that was enough. That stretch was, wait a second, there's more here than I ever realized. And I started working with plastic bags out of that tiny little, that it turned into a dozen years of paid effects work, including, let's see, first one was Lord of Illusions, then there was Species, and then there were a bunch of things, bunch of Outer Limits effects here and there, and then Army of Dark, no, not Army of Darkness, Men in Black, the grouchy creature. The illustration was transparent, or I mean, it was shiny and transparent, and we called it Slug Guy. But
Right.
Eventually.
Oh, right. That's right. We showed it last time. I have it here too.
Grouchy. Grouchy, he ended up being called because, well, it was a noisy costume. It had air blowing into it constantly because it's inflated, but it leaked. And so it was, Barry Sonnenfeld, the director, didn't really want it on his set for any longer than it had to be there. Spielberg called it his favorite alien, the way it looked, but Sonnenfeld did not want to have to shoot every scene MOS with that mit-out sound because of that hissing, and so he gave it a line, don't get too close to him, he's grouchy, so that he could get it out of the way, get it off the set. So there's that. Any other questions?
Let's see. I have something from someone who just popped in. The Jollywood Studios. He saw a stream and recommended and thought they would drop in. I really love seeing Billy reprising his work on Ghostbusters and his new Stay Puft suit and working on Frozen Empire. That was from Jollywood. I don't know if you guys can see that on your end. It's
Jollywood,
kind of
Jollywood Studios. Yeah, I see it at the bottom. Yeah.
okay.
Well, thanks. And I intended to bring my Stay Puft head. We're down here in Long Beach on our weekends. It's not a bad place to hang out, I have to admit.
Oh yeah, that's nice.
But I forgot to bring the head with me. Otherwise, it would be here bobbing beside me and talking some of the time.
Yeah, just so you guys know, for those who are watching, I know some of the stuff I've used before was from the Stan Winston School. That interview that you have done, I made sure that I put it in the description, that video, so they can see that interview, because it was an amazing interview they done with you. Your cameo information too, if you're still,
Yeah.
they can, if they ask for a cameo, it's still there. Click the link and ask for a cameo from Billy Bryan. Also, there was a link I put on the added today, was the building the Stay Puft Marshall Man. You started to do that
Patreon.
series, so I clicked on it. And
Yeah. We've got 3 or 4 episodes out now. It's Patreon, $5 a month. Come on, anybody can do that. I have a QR code, but I should have printed it up so I could hold it up and people could click on it right now, but I didn't. It's on my phone.
And you can find it on that link to find. To
Yeah,
get right
actually,
into there.
several of the of my little Instagram links have the Patreon or the QR code at the end.
Yeah, the
And
video I
think
have
you
on
can
there should
grab
have it.
Okay.
It should have it right on there. So you guys
Cool.
click on that link and find the QR code on that link. That's in the description.
There's this one thing I've been meaning. So he interrupted himself. I'm working on Heidi Klum's next Halloween costume, and it's been taking up a lot of time. And I keep thinking, I've got to shoot this quick little how-to. It's with the plastic bags, with black plastic bags. I figured out that if you seam a kind of an elongated balloon using a soldering iron, you put paper over the 2 layers of plastic, you draw your line and peel it off, and now you've got this inflatable that's shaped like whatever you drew. Mm-hmm. And then, because of this black plastic, especially if it's the right thickness, you can pull little spikes out of the unseamed side.
Okay.
And the other side. So now you end up, and then you put a spring down one side of the seam, and you roll it up on a pencil, probably put a little cardboard tube. You blow on it, and you get a party favor, those party
Right.
blowers. But it looks like a black centipede. It's so cool. It's just right for a Halloween party. Right?
Is that for this coming Halloween?
Yeah, that's the idea. But of course, I didn't shoot it because I've been so busy.
I got the last one that you told us about, the one that you had her with. This one. I don't know if you see that.
Oh, yes, that's the worm. Yeah, that's my pretty girl.
Let me go back to her face is right there in the middle.
Yeah.
So
I fabricated the foam forms, and Mike Marino is the makeup artist who actually has the job. Bill Corso did some of them before, and then passed it along to Mike. Mike Marino, you may have seen his work recently. He did the Penguin. I'm saying this is the best makeup artist on the planet at the moment.
The current Penguin?
The current Penguin, the Brendan, it's Colin Farrell. Is that his name?
Yeah.
The Irishman. Who's not talking like an Irishman at all.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And he's lost. He's not lost, but he's entirely obscured and hidden and feeling real, and yet a character. It's. I heard that Mike got a letter or an email from Rick Baker saying, "Hey, you've surpassed all of us, Dick Smith, Kaz." It will go down in history as the best makeup on the planet. Anyway, so I thought I'd put in a little shout out to my buddy Mike.
Sweet.
So we're working on Heidi's next, which I can't tell you what it is because of the NDA. I got another NDA today. I wish I could tell you. It's somebody wants me to do something interesting, but I'll have to tell you in a year or so.
Um, find out on Instagram. Billy's usually posting a lot of good stuff on there. Hints and stuff, and clues later on or after the fact.
Yeah,
Yeah.
afterwards mostly.
Besides
Heidi,
Heidi Klum, I mean, how often do you get bugged right around this time of year for people who say, "Can you make me a costume?"
I've turned down so much work in the last month and a half, just because, and some of it was just that, just a friend saying, "Tell you what, I'll help you with your online presence if you'll make me a costume."
Right.
Yeah, but this tis the season to be scary. Fa la 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 la.
A lot of people don't.
Anyways,
It's very time consuming to do a lot of this stuff.
It is, and a lot of people assume, well, you must have a bunch just lying around. So
Right.
just put me in one of those. Well, I tend not to. I mean, they get trashed. I put them in my studio, and then they get crawled over by whatever's. Never mind. You don't want to know. But yeah.
Building a
Go
puppet
ahead.
guy right now. Same thing. People say, "Can you build me a puppet?" I go, "Well, how much you got? What's your budget?"
It's a puppet. Come on. How much could it cost? I got $12.
No, I gotta go to supplies. That's money. How much?
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, I might even spend some time at it.
Right.
Am I hourly?
Oh, I need it next week.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some of that going on.
Yeah.
Even that Stay Puft suit that I built last year, I added a puppet mech. Actually, you make puppets, so I should turn you on to the system I use. I take imagine a disc of neoprene, and
Okay.
then you stitch on 4 little finger caps on one side.
Right.
Then you've got a line across the middle, and you put one more, a thumb cap on this side, and now you're captured by those little finger cups. So it's not just on the outside and hoping that it'll open. You've got positive open and close.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? I mean, yes, the puppet on top is going to capture your fingers, but this way you also have the possibility of giving it, emotional twist just by bringing it wide or together or up and down or whatever.
Yeah.
I had worked at Henson's on a project, and I watched them build a Miss Piggy, and I thought, dang, that's a lot of extra steps just to get that. And so that's when Jodie Foster hired Mel Gibson for the Beaver to try to restart his career. And I built that beaver, and I used that mechanism in it for the first time. and it's a thing that you can just drop into whatever shape puppet you have, and you have that control. It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Do you sew then?
Say what?
You sew?
Yeah.
Stitching, machine sewing, and all that. Yeah, you'd kind of have to if you're going to make puppets, and it makes a lot of sense.
I tend to, do more of the Henson type style puppets. So there's a lot of sewing and a lot of hand sewing.
Yes.
So you don't necessarily use you don't use sewing machine. You'll have to do everything, do a whip stitch by hand.
Right.
And
Exactly.
then you got depending on if you're using, if you're making a furry monster, then you're okay. The seams are going to be hidden. But if you're using fleece, you got to use a special kind of fleece that was that.
Yeah, and then you got to pluck it out to get the fuzz side out of the stitches.
You call that was all discontinued. There's actually a new fleece out there right now.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
Because I've been just going down to Joann and getting regular, fleece, and it's not really thick enough, doesn't have enough nap to really hide the stitches. I just sort of, well, we're trying to get this done in a hurry, and this is all we got. So if you got something, I'd like to know.
got
I guess
thing
I
here.
offended him. He's run off.
Oh, I think he dropped something.
No,
I got a
Yeah,
quick
he's
one
looking
here.
for a
I'm going to
Puft.
get that get that source so I can find that fleece.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Let me
you
get
can
it.
order it online. I got this from Georgia Stage.
Georgia Stage.
Yeah.
That's
I
the
can
company. Here, hold it up. Hold it up. Let me read it. Oh,
This is the new stuff. So it's very, very similar.
yeah. Pluck at that fleece a little bit. Let me see how it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Nice. Yeah. And the backside, is there fleece or not on the back?
No.
Okay. So it's smooth, just fabric on the back and
Yeah.
fleecy on the front. Gotcha.
So yeah,
Does
there's
that-
this. There's actually there's another one. Let me get that one too.
This is educational for all of us.
Yes.
This is from Dharma Trading Company.
Oh, I love them.
Yeah. So this one, I think this is a lot closer to
Oh.
the fleece because it's
Oh, that's cool to know. I bought a lot of dyes and things, and
really
and they're
good for really. Yeah. See, I don't know if you can see. This is
Hold it up
even
more.
a longer pile.
yeah,
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay. Is it also on only one side?
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Dharma.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know. And
Yeah,
you
this-
can dye it to. Do they only sell it in white?
Oh no, they have different colors.
Oh, okay. I know that Dharma being a dye company, you know,
Say
that
what?
they, Dharma being a dye company, they tend to sell a lot of things in white and then assume that you're going to dye them to whatever color you want.
I just
But-
got the white because this way you can just make any color you want.
Sure,
So,
sure, of course. Yeah, I was asked a few years ago. There was a doll that Mick Fleetwood had. There was a picture of him on the cover of English Rose, where he was in drag and just doing a scary face, but with lipstick and makeup. And somebody made a doll cartooning that, and they used it for a poster, and then for his 50 years of Fleetwood Mac, he wanted to use that doll on the cover, but he'd lost the doll along the way. So I got asked to make him a couple of them. And the fabric that the shirt that the doll wore, it was unique. It was like, how are you going to do that? So I took a picture and I blew it up and cloned it into a sheet worth. And then I printed that from some fabric, some silk that I bought from Dharma Trading,
okay.
you know, and that you could put through your printer and it would print the silk. You peel off an 8.5 by 11 sheet of silk and you can make a doll's worth of sleeve or half of one and print a couple, that kind of thing. And so it was nice to have a resource like that where you can, if you're willing to go through the steps, you can make something, whatever it is you're looking for. If you see what I mean.
I do, yeah.
Okay.
So come on, I must have inspired a question in you.
Letitia, do you have something for us?
I was just fixing my hair. Let me think.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt the important thing.
No. Did sometimes my memory is not the greatest. I don't know why. It's like a fish, but
Sometimes I too seek inspiration.
But I don't know if this question was asked in the last podcast. How long did it take you to make the Puft Man?
Okay, I was on that job for about 6 months, but in that time, first there was maybe a month and a half maybe of figuring out how to do it. Had done a couple of different versions. I built a solid version, carved the foam parts, but it's really hard to get a smooth surface. It's easier to get a smooth surface if you use cut foam and fabricate it, but that means you have a seam. But as long as the seam is away from camera, it doesn't matter.
Right.
So that's what I've been teaching. Part of what I've been teaching in my Patreon, that you're going to assume there will be a seam somewhere, and we made front view suits with the seam on the back. We made back view suits with the seam and zipper on the front. We made side view climbing suit where the seam was, I'm not sure where we, but it must have been down the side or maybe tucked in right next to the arm, something like that. It's got to be past the horizon. That's the important part. And the foam is soft enough and stretchy enough that for the body pod at least, you can stretch that final half-inch layer of foam past the horizon, so you can't see that seam, and then and you can ease the foam, the wrinkles in to smooth out, and if there are too many wrinkles and seams, then they go under the bib. So anyway, there are all these things that we had to figure out during that first while, and then the last, was it really that long? Anyway, every suit, we had built the pods, but we couldn't stretch that final layer until we knew what the next shot was going to be. Because if that front view suit shot where they burnt, there were explosions and fire going on, and it was destroying that suit. If it was a successful shot, then we would move on to the next, and whatever that next had to be, that's how we would stretch that last layer. If it's a side view climbing a church or whatever, the suit would be assembled accordingly. So that's why so much time passed between the figuring it out and completing the task.
Huh. I remember back in the 80s when the movie came out, there was a magazine.
You're breaking up, Captain.
Who's breaking up? Me?
Yeah.
I think so.
That's better now.
Now you're better. Yeah, go ahead. Repeat your question, Ian.
Oh, no, I never. It's funny because I never thought about that with the seams, and you just had to make different suits for each camera angle, which is interesting. Yeah. And I remember reading somewhere, it was either, I guess, Starlog or one of those magazines from the 80s after the movie came out, and learning how that there was also different heads that were made for different expressions. So you see he's happy, and he's got the shifty eyes that are, looking, from right to left. And then he goes from anger, and, when he climbs up, and, I understood.
Okay. I would like to point out that that first shift from happy to angry was actually just the addition of some eyebrow appliances.
Okay.
That was the first shift. So that's that moment. Kids are, yeah. Wait a second, he's not that happy, is he? And then, as we start climbing the building, there was an ooh to ah face, we called it, where the skull underneath was split and separated in order to stretch the foam skin, and because of that, the mouth would go from ooh to ah, and also there was a lip turn in that, a metal mechanism that would go from here down to there in order to further extend that. There were eyebrow pieces underneath in the skull, and then the skin was glued down to that so it could form those expressions.
Okay, so there were animatronics.
Yes, definitely.
Because I'm always wondering, sometimes when you see a movie and there'll be a practical effect like a character. I know there was a big argument with, I guess it was the Muppet movie, and they said that there was a scene where Piggy, when she got in the fight, because Piggy has like her certain eyes.
Uh-huh.
Yes, but sometimes her eyes can go real wide when she gets upset.
Right.
And someone said, "Oh, I wonder how they did that." And I go, "They didn't move. They just put new eyes on Piggy." And they go, "No, I think they moved." I go, "No, that's how they fool you."
Is that Mandelbrot or not?
That's how they trick your mind that way.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And actually, in that one, remember when, or was it Take Manhattan, where there's a photograph taken and all of a sudden they've got tiny pupils because of the flash photo?
Right.
Again, wait, cut, change out the eyes.
Yeah,
okay, and roll.
That's put in new ones. That's it.
Right, exactly.
So that's one of the things I love about the Muppets is that they, they were so practical. And somebody asked Dave Goals, what is his favorite puppet, as far as the Muppets are concerned. And, he didn't necessarily say Gonzo, but he said Kermit. Why Kermit was so, his favorite is because Kermit is really nothing more than just a glorified sock puppet.
Yes.
That's it. So all
true.
his,
so true.
All his emotions, come from just, turning the head left and right, look,
and then sometimes there's this, push it down really hard and flat. So, right, that too, curl the lip. So simple and yet so effective.
I had one question for you. I guess basically, because obviously, I was pretty much looking at your credits on IMDb, and you pretty much stayed consistently employed. Because I would always like to go right around 1992, 93. There definitely was that's when kind of the boom of CGI started.
Oh, okay.
And computers. And I remember around 98, I got back from Canada, and I had worked on a Henson project. And so I was going out there. I figured, dude, I got Henson on my resume now. I should be able to get somewhere.
You'd think.
And that's when I couldn't find anything. And they said, everything was just going over to computers. In fact, the show that I worked
Bill Bryan.
Say what?
Or Bill Bryan.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was taking all your work. No, I actually, in 93, I think it was 92, 93. Actually, before that, I'm going to have to go all the way back to, because I had to join Screen Actors Guild and the Sculptors Union in order to build and portray Stay Puft. Screen Actors Guild won't get you a job, but they'll get you a great contract if you get the job.
Yeah.
The Sculptors Union will send you out on calls. And my first call was to Carlo Rambaldi's studio. He was working on Cat's Eye. I started sculpting a cat's paw and then did some work on the little troll that's in there. And then there was a piece for Dune, which came a year after we built still suits, then done Ghostbusters, and then came back and had to make the fleshy tunnel through which the child is born. But it was like 6 feet across and cut so that they could shoot that birth. Anyway, but then because I'd worked for Carlo, other jobs came up. and in '86, or I guess it was the end of '85, was King Kong Lives. And then in '92, there was a movie called Rex. It was a Japanese film. Rick Baker had been hired to build some dinosaurs of different ages, and they were Rex. The name is T Rex, right? So they're going to have eyes up here and the big snout and all that. And where does cute come into there? Well, Rick was willing to attack the question when they took a look at it. The work was all finished, and they said, "Oh, but we want to be able to show expressions on the face of these, the baby, medium, and adult dinosaur." And he said, "Well, then you'll have to pay me for that too." "No, we already paid you." "No, you paid me to do what I did. Now," they said, "well, if that," they went off, "we'll go to the other guy in town with Academy Awards." And so they went to Carlo Rambaldi. And Carlo said, "All right, I'll do it." And so we made, actually, there was a lot of Muppety stuff going on in there. Carlo wasn't always restricted by the shape of the sculpture. His mechanisms might extend just a little bit beyond, and eventually things start looking kind of potato-like. I mean, it's like they're not as refined as the sculpture originally might have been. So that happened to the baby, but I had also made just a Muppet one. They wanted it to lick up some Coca-Cola for some product placement. So, but there it was. It could act like a puppet.
Yeah.
And so then when they needed a cute looking one to, it was trying to escape. It runs into a wall. I was doing some sticky Muppety stuff, it dum boom, oh boing, that kind of stuff. But they loved it, so I kept doing it, and so the movie kind of may have taken a little turn that way. So, but animatronics wasn't quite as important as character.
Right.
If you see what I mean.
Yeah.
But, just by performing it somehow, they could relate to it more than, his walking mechanism kind of skated, for instance. You could tell that it wasn't really propelled and that kind of stuff. It was the same mechanism that he'd used on White Buffalo, which was his proudest piece, but it was coming straight at the camera, and you maybe didn't see the feet on the rails. But I digress.
Yeah.
Who, me? Have I distracted you enough from whatever you asked?
No. Well, I guess the question was did you see during the boom of computers and when computers started to take over for effects, did you kind of see a downslope in work?
There was a downturn perhaps. Anyway, and I was asked for an interview what movie I thought was scariest of all. And I said Jurassic Park, because I saw the death of practical effects.
Right.
But it didn't turn out quite to be that way for a while anyway, because there's a lot of things that CG can do for you and still let you work practically. Mm-hmm. For instance, you put a rod out here, and now you can perform that arm with only a twist. And maybe if you put hand mech up the rod, but you green out the rod, then you don't need the entire mechanism to run all the way down the body and out to some elaborate controller off stage.
Yeah.
So CG can help, or it can entirely replace, and I prefer the help. Although I'm sure that a lot of mechanics lost a lot of work to the help as well.
Yeah, but
if you see.
I think if when you really combine the two elements, they really
That's
work. They work well together.
that's where it works. And
Yeah.
that's partly why Jurassic Park works so well, is because those practical, actual things were so realistic that when you cut to the smoother CG ones, you think that they're the same thing,
Right.
sort of.
There's one
And
really couldn't tell the difference.
right, but that kind of money has not been spent on practical in quite a while,
Oh,
whereas
yeah.
it does keep getting spent on CG.
Yeah. So I know I know just like in the last couple of years, maybe even 10 years, it seems that practical has been, really making a good comeback. I mean,
Yeah, there's a resurgence,
yeah.
but at the same time, the CG is getting better and better, and so everybody knows that eventually all your shows are going to be cartoons. Uh,
Right.
Uh,
And if AI says, then we're all screwed,
oh well, I turned 70 about 3 weeks ago, and I see myself coasting in gently to a nice landing. I think I'll be fine.
Yeah.
There's still stuff I can do. Last week I signed up for Social Security. It's not going to supply everything, but it'll make a balance.
Yeah.
okay,
How about the
Brian,
rest
did
of
you?
you? Sorry to
Right.
talk this way from the most fortunate position in the world, where I'm just past it enough that I don't have to worry about it so much.
Yeah. No, I think you get to see. I think one of the greatest things about your career is that you came in when practical was the only thing that you had, so you got to experience that. You got to see the boom of CGI, and you got to work, in that as well. I think
Right.
there's
Playing with John Dykstra back and forth on Doc Ock's Tentacles was a good example of how together can happen. The money was spent on the up close tentacles, and we spent actually 3 or 4 months. You remember in Doc Ock the operation scene where he wakes up and slaughters everyone? Well, we spent 3 or 4 months trying to work out how we could do that practically. Not on set. It was just us trying to figure out how can we work with this stuff. Those puppets weren't lightweight, and
right.
so my predecessor left because his answer was it can't be done. So I had to come up with well, let's see, how can we? And then we put it on booms, with wheels under them and that kind of thing, teeter totter kind of arrangement, just to get the heads where we wanted them. And then there were those elaborate mechanisms to make them do their expressions, which was a lot of fun to see. And you see them do it digitally. It's like I don't know, maybe it's wonderful, but it hurts that it's not the same stuff.
No. Now, if somebody say, not, somebody of today, a younger kid, like maybe like just think back to when you were, 13, like I was 13, that's when, you kind of started getting really into this stuff.
Uh-huh.
And even at 13 for me, there was still only practical. But there is a 13-year-old right now in 2024, about to, going to 2025, who saw these movies and said, this is what I want to do. And maybe, hopefully they're watching this program right now because they said, I got to hear what Bill has to say.
Oh dear. Here's what I have to say is do it anyway. Build them. Learn it all. Learn woodworking. Learn metalworking. Learn plastic working. Fiddle with those plastic bags because they're a lot of fun and there's a lot you can do with them. It's a membrane that you can fill with fluid or with air. And I mean, here's another membrane full of fluid. And, If you figure out exactly how to work with it, then you know, shoot it, and people are going to be impressed. Um, it's tricky because there are other ways to go now.
Yeah.
But are they better? Are they cheaper? Are they actually? I think a lot of it gets chosen because you can keep messing with it until the day before you release.
Mm.
You know, you don't. It, you have to build your practical creatures, and when you shoot them, that's what they look like. You can also mess with those afterwards digitally. You know, just whether it's to wipe out a problem or to add some expression,
Right.
and it happens all the time. So
Add detail. You know, if you have one puppet and it, just can open up its mouth and that's all it can do,
right, right,
come in and add, the snarling of the lips
right,
and
that kind of thing.
stuff like that. Yeah. So no,
So do not despair, young Padawan.
right. So if you're out there,
Uh, learn it, and learn it within yourself.
yeah,
Find out what you can do. It's not going to be what I did.
right,
It'll be what you do.
yeah. Also, I mean, with YouTube nowadays, I mean, you can just
Oh, you can
look
learn
up.
anything.
I mean, anytime I wanted to learn, if I wanted to, learn how to make a blinking mechanism,
Yes.
I went to YouTube. I'm
Uh-huh.
working on this one puppet that is going to be it's just a cable mouth puppet.
Okay.
That's it. So I've never built one of those. So I just went to YouTube and just saw one video, and that's the thing is like once you learn that, all you need to do once you learn that small technique of how to make a
That's
cable.
the first step in
That's
your brain.
Yeah, and now you can go and develop anything to that.
Anything
Yeah.
that relates to that. There was a thing there was what was the name of it? It was a move. Started as a what do they, it's a series. The first, what do they call it? Pilot. Okay, the pilot. It was of like a hospital in space, and so some of the patients are aliens, and some are humans. And turned out it ended up being sort of a Peyton Place in space. There wasn't nearly as much alien hospital stuff going on when they finally released it as there was in that pilot. And there was a creature called a thwack, and it was sort of like a dolphin-like shape, and it needed to open and close its mouth. But a standard mech, there's a spot, there's a pivot,
Mm-hmm.
and how that mouth opens and closes, once you open and close it once or twice, you know where that pivot is, and now you're stuck with it. My jaw, you see, it's got this elaborate pivot, and it can come and go in a variety of angles. Well, this thing, I decided, well, then let's try air again. So I sewed up a bunch of little pillows that I could stack in the throat of this thing. And when I blew on it, as they inflated, they opened that mouth, but in a non-specific way.
Mm.
So it was just a kind of, hey, what if we did it different? And that's a big part of my story. What if we do it different?
I never thought of that using air.
Go for it.
I might have to try that. I don't know.
Ryan, did you have a final question that you want to put out there?
I have potentially a couple quick ones, but honestly, I'd like to throw that back to you. Like, I don't think we've heard you ask any questions so far. So,
Ryan, really? No, that's good. Good. A really quick one, fast one. I'm just going to shoot this one out. I wanted to know more about this here for your part.
Okay.
Bicentennial Man.
All right. I'm going to have to back up again to Superman Lives. Remember Nick Cage as Superman?
Yes.
We were asked to make a regeneration suit at Steve Johnson's XFX. And they had started sculpting this thing. It had silicone shapes, around solid vacuum form shapes. And I looked at it and I thought, this isn't going to work. But what if? And I said, do you have any more of those vacuum forms? So I got a bunch of them and I built essentially clear armor. It looked like bubbles, kind of like armor that was clear, and it all moved over itself. But it was an entirely hard, movable suit. They didn't make the movie, but we shot some video of it, including the lasers inside and all that. But it looked cool. Then Bicentennial Man comes along a year or two later, and for the reason they came to Steve Johnson's XFX is because they knew that we could do a hard suit, and they wanted to see how we would do it. So they gave us a month, I think it was a month, to make an arm. I made an arm, and I thought, wouldn't it be cool if, like an action figure, it's got the ball in the on the inside of the elbow, and so I made it out of leaves, like orange peel leaves, and they would overlap and close, but they look like a solid ball when it opened, and they loved that, and so we continued with that sort of design throughout the rest of it. Let's see, we brought in some more folks to work on it, and I was the same size as Robin Williams. Our bone lengths were identical, and so we actually built the suit on me. I would check it out to see if it worked. Then I went up to San Francisco to film, to dress Robin, and to double Robin in the suit. He wore it about 40 days. I wore it about 26, I think. Mine were usually over the shoulder or the feet from behind or that kind of thing. Just when he's somewhere else doing his thing, then they could make use of the extra suits and me and get some of those non-full body suit shots. There was one, now because I had carved on hook, and I was mentioning that on stage one day to Robin's assistant, and she said, wait, you carve? She goes running away. Robin comes back and says, Billy, can you help me? Can you do the carving scene tomorrow? I'm afraid I'm going to cut my thumb off. So I got my own scene. If you go through it, watch Bicentennial Man, there's a moment. There's probably a shift in body language. But where I'm taking a curl, wood out of a piece of wood with a chisel. It had to look like really woodwork. And little Miss is sitting there, and she hands me the tool, and I whack it out. And then there was another one where Andrew Martin cuts his thumb off on the bandsaw, and he asked me if I'd do that too because he's afraid he would cut his thumb off. I just had to keep it inside. That's all. It reminds me of an old joke, but anyway. But you said it wouldn't hurt. I just keep my thumbs in like this. Anyway, Bicentennial Man. Yeah, I got to do it all. And that was an image from Talk magazine where they wanted Robin and the robot both in the photograph. So we got to perform together side by side or hand in hand or something.
Right.
He jumped. I pretended to hold him up.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, definitely amazing. Bryan, back to you. With your
All
first
right.
one.
I'll do one, and then we'll see kind of how long, if there's time for another question.
Time.
No, it's good hearing your stories. Are very interesting, and very educational in terms of the process. So going back to, I'm a huge fan of Spider-Man, the character in general, and it stood out to me that Spider-Man 2 is on your resume because that's arguably like one of the best Spider-Man movies of all time. Did you get that job through having worked with Sam Raimi previously, or is there kind of more to that story?
It was kind of incidental in a way, in that I was working at Steve Johnson's already pretty regular. He was keeping me on because I kept coming up with stuff, and if you can make millions out of plastic bags, why then you keep that guy around? Most of the materials that we work with in the effects industry are expensive, and to have discovered that you could make effects with inexpensive materials was a feather in my cap. And so there I was at Steve Johnson's, and I mentioned the previous head puppeteer had said it can't be done with these heavy tentacles, and I don't believe those words, and so I got to replace him. And so then I sort of had to prove myself through discussions with with Sam and Apogee. I forgot his name again. Anyway, eventually they said, "All right, well, go ahead and be that head puppeteer, at least for those first 3 months when we were developing how to." When it came to going on set, it became clear that task of head puppeteer was really more an AD job. It was the assistant director has to hear what the director says and spout it back to the people under him. And it feels like an absurd position to me. It doesn't feel like forward motion in any way. And so I not that I rebelled, but I found that I was not really good at that. And so instead, we brought one of the other guys from the shop, Eric Hayden, who an inspiring AD, I think, and director. But he was able to parse what the director had said and spew it appropriately, similarly to the rest of us. And so I got to just be the cobble guy. And cobbling is a lot of what I do. Again, it's what do you got? What can you do with it? And
Right.
so and it's an important task in that sort of general field. So I don't know. Did that answer any of that? It was
Yeah, I
good
think,
to-
yeah.
It was good to work with Sam again.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you that working with Alfred Molina was amazing. What a great guy. And
Yeah.
and then to see all the other great stuff he's done along the way. He just did Inherit the Wind at the Pasadena Playhouse, and I have a picture of him giving me a big hug, like, oh my God, like you actually remember.
Yeah.
Good
That's so
people. Anyway, so then you had another.
Another question, Ryan.
Yeah, I was just going to ask about, as I recall, I watched through the last time you were on, we saw both times, but never has it been really spoken about. You worked on the still suits for the original 1984 Dune. What was that
Were
like?
these here?
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway.
those
Yeah.
right there. And I'm on the right there. On the left is Mark Siegel, and in the middle is Jerry Goodman. I'll explain each of those. I was working at Sid and Marty Crofts for a short time in '81, I think it was, after NBC had decided they didn't have anything for me. And it was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And I went out and I started interviewing and found out that, yeah, there are actually some people that would like to hire me. And so Sid and Marty Croft brought me in for one production, but they brought in Mark Siegel for another thing. He was sculpting in clay. I was working in foam fabrication. Mark's next job, he got hired by Don Post Studios of the Mask fame. You probably saw all those great horror masks on the back of Famous Monsters. He wanted to get back into the movie industry. His dad or granddad had been in, but he'd sort of mostly just done math. But here they were doing Dune, and they said, we'll do the still suits. So they hired Mark to sculpt the still suits in clay, and then they were going to cast them and run them. And he said, that's not the right way. They should be fabricated. They're going to move better. They're going to be a little unique, and it's and I know the right guy. He brought me in, and we worked together for a few months, actually. From in '83 into from '82 into '83. That's right, because Ghostbusters was '83 into '84. We built 300 of those suits, one of which could be torn open for Max von Sydow, because when the Beast Raban murders Dr. Keynes out in the desert, he rips open his still suit, and it spews all his carefully hoarded water onto the desert floor, and he dies. It was quite a job. Let's see, what can I say about it? Let me think. We had such a great crew, and it was wonderful that one of the people that we hired, Linda Frobos, who marvelously organized, she figured out how to set up all our parts so that we could get to them easily and build all those suits. And then she went on to sculpt the head of Stay Puft. So she called me to ask how I would build a Marshmallow Man. And I started to explain, and she said, no, don't tell me. Come in and interview. Oh, okay. I didn't realize I was being offered a job at that moment, and it turned out to be possibly the best one of my career.
Wow.
Awesome.
That's amazing. All right, Letitia,
but
the end.
there is this one story. Wait, there's one more little tale.
Please.
I hope I didn't tell it before, but either way, there were 3 people up for the part of Paul Muad'Dib. There were, so our screen test was their screen test. And then we sat in the screening room with only David Lynch and Raffaella De Laurentiis sitting behind us. It was me and Mark and Don Post in the front watching our still suits to make sure that they look good. But we're also seeing Val Kilmer give his opening speech as Paul Muad'Dib. Michael Biehn gave his opening speech as Paul Muad'Dib, and then Kyle MacLachlan gave his. And they were arguing about it in the back. And finally, David said, so, what do you guys think? I said, really? I said, well, let me see if I get this right. Val's too pretty. Michael's too American. There's something different about Kyle. That's all I said. So I cast Kyle MacLachlan as Paul Muad'Dib.
Oh, wow.
Or at least I didn't uncast him. All right.
Very cool. Very cool.
Any final questions from you, Letitia, or we're going to move on with Ian's final?
No, I don't have any questions. I'm just fascinated by all the stories.
I hope it's okay.
All right, thank you for that. Ian, any final questions?
It's nice to have a pretty girl sitting there listening while you're yammering, by the way.
Aw, shucks.
I don't have a final question, but I guess I noticed in the chat, Michael Kiley, I guess he had a question, and he wanted to know how long did it take to sculpt the Marshmallow Man?
Okay, so the sculpting parts were, or the parts that were sculpted were the hat, the head, the hands, and the feet. I sculpted the hands and the feet. Linda Frobos did the head. I believe that the hat was a plaster. I forget what they call it. A turn up where you've got a template and you as you spin it, you load plaster in and it scrapes it down to the form that the template is leaving behind. So that's how they got the hat. But it's still, I guess, technically a sculpture.
Yeah.
How long? I'd say each of those heads, Linda probably took a week or two, something like that, maybe 3. She was also working on the Terror Dogs and the various other elements. But the 6 months that I mentioned, to get the shape, we acquired that within the first month and a half or 2. And so after that, it was time spent fabricating and choosing which way to go. Did that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, hopefully he was still watching. He might have.
Check.
I hope there was some information in there. Yeah.
No, very good, very good.
good.
Yeah, I think I just want to end up. We've been on for about an hour, almost an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Make sure to. I would say for one of my final ones, I would like to just say, there's so many things, great movies that you've done. Whether it was I know you've done Cat in the Hat and things like that, but over everything you've done, what are the rewards of knowing you've done so much, so creativity with crafting and fabrications? Is there the reward behind all of it that you feel accomplished, or you got more, you just want to keep on going?
Well, this is the reward. This is the opportunity to just, tell some tales and reach back into the back of my brain and yank stuff out and sprinkle it in front of people. That's a lot of it. But I go to conventions, I sign autographs, and people come there. Imagine how difficult that must be to sit there and have people come by and throw money and compliments at you all day long. It's not too bad. I gotta admit.
You probably get to do it more than I do. So
Okay, maybe so.
I only get one time a year that I get to do that.
Oh, right.
Christmas
Yeah,
time.
right.
So do you,
Yeah,
are you in LA or where are you
I'm
puppeteering?
in Sacramento right now, but I'm
There he is.
Yeah, born and raised.
Oh, there you go. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I
You
would
should have
say,
used my favorite picture, the one that's completely bundled up.
Oh,
Compare that
like
to yeah.
where he's wearing this hat.
Oh,
Yeah,
really? Is that the
it's like
one?
with the scarf all
Yeah,
over. It's so
This is the
cute.
replica.
Oh, okay.
I had bought it. It's hard to work with it on my big head.
That fabric stretches.
You get that off of the.
No, you gotta wrap it around your neck too,
Oh,
My neck?
yeah.
and then grab your red jacket.
And Mama in her kerchief and I in my cap had just settled down for a long winter's nap.
Yeah, so it's give me 1 second. Sorry, just trying to. I've been had this sinuses and this cold for a while.
Oh, me too. But
Other
go
than
on.
that, this has been a great experience once again. The second time around, and we catching up on certain things that we left off, and new things and things from we touched back on what was it? Anything from where is it? I'm looking at the screen here. I was finally able to get something on Bicentennial Man, which I always wanted to know. Good stuff. We talked about last time. We didn't see anything last time. We went into
Yeah.
we talked
I'm
about
so
it last
proud.
time.
Now,
So-
did you mention if you go to YouTube and check out Bill Bryan's resume rap video, and just type that in. I think the apostrophe can work or not, but you can see my career sort of the way I've described it in rhyme. But that was 8 years ago, I believe. Yeah. And in 2016, somebody asked me, well, "We know you were the Marshmallow Man, but what else have you done?" And I had a log jam, so I decided that would never happen again. So I assembled, and I got to tell the story in rhyme. I've been a schmello, been a schweasel, been a bitch in a pit. Chucky wasn't done until I done my bit. Zebra and lion would never have met. Alien cocoons, that giant marionette, the fairy tale hen with her golden eggs, anaconda, quesadrix, what you think of them? Green blobs, eaglets, young pteranodon, a talking oak tree, and a heart for King Kong. He's the man, he's the man, he's the marshmallow man. If any man can do it, that's the man who can. Every day I hear it, anywhere I am, give it to the marshmallow man.
Oh
That's
yeah.
first one. Well, thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, that was Oh, I think it was one down in one of my questions where, oh, are you still doing karaoke these days with the Stay Puft Strat or
Sure, I do. The Stay Puft Strut and
Strut?
Call Me Al. I mean that one's a good one. Marshmallow Man walking down the street says, "Why am I soft in the middle now? Why am I soft in the middle when I should have been J. Edgar Hoover?" And it goes on from there. But
Any conventions nearby in Chicago or Midwest or no?
oh, I just did. Let's see, I did Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and I did Fort Collins, Colorado, about a month before. I was supposed to go to Orlando the weekend before last, but Milton got there first.
Oh,
So,
yeah, that's
and
right.
actually, they've rescheduled, but it's going to be the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of November, and I'll be Halloweening with Heidi in New York City.
Oh, awesome.
So
Awesome.
I won't be able to get down to that one, but we'll see. We'll see where
Nothing
the
in
next one
Chicago? Nothing in the Chicago area?
I'm looking for an invitation.
Oh, I gotta talk to some people.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. I did
Yeah.
go to a Hollywood show once in Chicago, but it was a few years back. And there's been a nice resurgence of Ghostbuster appreciation, partly because of the new movies and just I don't know. I guess people 40-year anniversary kind of shines in people's
Oh yeah,
minds.
that's this year.
Mhm.
I know.
Cool.
I've been seeing. I saw Ernie Hudson.
Yeah.
At conventions.
Yeah,
So
he.
I saw him at.
The other guys don't have to.
Say what?
The other guys don't have to, and Harold can't, but Bill won't. Dan, he's doing other things when he's out there. He's selling vodka.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, the skull vodka.
So,
Yeah.
But
yeah.
that, see, with that being said, for Ryan, and you want to say your last second not question, but I mean like it's like your
Oh, like the
goodbye,
wrap up? Yeah, sure.
wrap up to
I
Billy.
did the wrap. You did the wrap up.
Yeah, just thank you so much for your time coming on, sharing your stories with us. It was very entertaining and interesting and educational for a lot of it too. So thank you so much for coming, and thanks to everyone that came out to watch.
Yeah.
And
thanks.
Letitia.
Good to see y'all.
I second that. Sorry. Like Ryan said, it's very educational. I learned a lot. I mean, I thought I was just gonna hear, for example, when I asked how long it took you to create to build the character's puppet, I didn't think there's gonna be so many of them, and it was going to take 6 months. So I just learned something new.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
They were like how was it? I'm trying to get here. About 8 of those costumes made, right? Wasn't there? And about
I think
20,000
so.
each.
Something like. I mean,
Yeah,
they
that's
were.
reliable.
They're not cheap. They're methods.
Yeah.
Ian,
No, it was a pleasure talking to you, and learned a few things definitely. So
Well, good. I did too. I know now Dharma trading for fleece. That's good to know.
bags now. Always go to those. Yeah.
Yeah. All right then.
Bags
Good to
Awesome.
share. Good to share.
it's nice. And thank you again, Billy Bryan, for coming on for the second time.
It's a pleasure.
Like before, it's everything you guys do behind all this, behind backstage and all that we get to see and learn more how you guys create and what we see in the big screen. So it's what we appreciate you so much for. So thank you so much for all that you do and that you keep doing for us. You inspire us, and thank you again. And Billy, any final statements?
Oh wow! Let's see. Geez, I didn't know I was going to get another shot. Well, I just want to say, keep it all up. I mean, y'all are doing a great job. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And we're gonna
Thank
end
you.
with this edited clip that I edited from the last time, the first time we had Billy Bryan is edited. I'm gonna play it, and right after it plays and it cuts off, you guys can watch, or you guys can click off, or we'll see you guys till next time. This is the Chronoz Show, and this is goodbye until next time.
All right.
Thanks
Take
a lot,
care.
Chronoz.
Thank you
Yep.
again.
Bye, y'all.
Maybe I'll see you at a convention sometime.
With fabrication on
Sounds good.
Slimer, which really it was a few rings. Actually, whenever you cast something in foam latex, then you need a power net sock to go over the core, so that you have something strong enough to move without tearing, because foam latex isn't a very strong material. And so I made the core socks for Slimer and for the librarian as well. And then when we for puppeteering for the librarian, I made some arm extensions, so that actually there was a piece of bungee inside of the each section, so that and they were rod puppeted. There was a rod coming out here, so when you move that rod, the whole arm moves, and if you push hard enough, then it stretches the arm, so that when she goes at you, you get a little bit of extra there. And then actually, Slimer's teeth, Slimer is such a floppy thing that the skull and the teeth are pretty much all that keeps the head from collapsing. You've seen old men with no teeth, and they kind of flatten out like that, right? So, they wanted a couple of different looks, because if you look at the original Ghostbusters, there are a couple of different depths to the teeth, and so I put Velcro on them so that they could go in and out, and so that was another task. And I made finger extensions for the hands, so that because Slimer's fingers are longer than Kevin's.
When he was grabbing those the Cheetos off the floor.
Wow.
That was cool. What a fun! That was a fun looking practical effect too, because right when the reveal of his eyes, kind of like, and then whoa, like so. I love it. I love anything with that. You know?
That was a great question.
Oh, that's another one I'll have to post. There was a little test of Slimer coming out of the garbage on a table, but you could still see Kevin's face inside his mouth, because we hadn't made that.
So great.
But it's just for.
See you guys till next time. I'm thinking about mid-November. Hopefully soon we can get another special guest. Thank you for that, Jonathan.
Thunder, 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 Thundercats! Ho!
That was dope!
Marshmallow Stay Puft stepping on a church. Ooh, wishing that got a little piece of the merch. Ooh.